Confessions of a Recovering Avoidant. Hey, my name's Clayton Olson, and this video is Confessions of a Recovering Avoidant, why I pulled away and what you need to know. I'm really excited about this video because it's something that I feel I can personally talk to because I am a recovering avoidant. I feel that in the last 10 years, I have made the move from avoidant to secure. I'm now married, and it's been a journey to get there, I'll tell you that. And for a good portion of my life, I was an avoidant in my dating and relationships. And before that, I also had periods where I was anxious. And I want to open the curtain today to help you get a better understanding of some of the programming that might be happening behind the scenes of what is happening inside the avoidance mind and heart, and why they're showing up the way they're showing up that feels like it's causing a lot of crazy making in your relationship love life. Maybe you are currently in a relationship with an avoidant and you're wondering, like, how do I improve the situation? Or do I just need to walk away or lower my expectations? Or maybe an avoidant has recently pulled away from you and you're wondering, do I take them back if they come back around? If I do, is there a chance that things could change? Should I just settle? All of these questions can just run laps and have us, if you're already have an anxious tendency, move even more into overthinking. And I think the worst part about that is you can end up also making their actions mean something about your worth, which is a fool's errand to go down if you find yourself doing that. Making somebody's actions and lack of capacity in a relationship mean something about your inherent value. So if you catch yourself doing that, stop. And I hope that this video will help bolster the scaffolding underneath your compassion and understanding so that you can either inspire this person from a place of security to step up and meet you, or you can cut your losses and you can run and you can go find a secure connection or a connection with somebody that wants to dance with you relationally in the way that would be fulfilling and devotional. As we dive into my life, I'll tell you a little bit of the origin story of how I believe I became an avoidant and how I also moved into secure attachment later in the video, so that if you're an avoidant watching this video and you want a relationship, know that there's hope. There's a path that can feel like an uphill battle at times. And also, if you are anxious, you can kind of see what your partner might be up against. And so for me, a lot of this stems back to my childhood. I grew up in a home with an alcoholic parent, a father that was a bit emotionally unstable at times when he was drinking, didn't have a lot of respect for boundaries. I often felt that he was very intrusive and was not calibrated to perhaps the space that I needed. And there was a certain enmeshment that occurred where I came to a conclusion at a very young age that to be in relationship with somebody I loved was not really safe, and it was a place where I would lose myself. And so a strategy that I developed was to keep people at arm's length so that I could feel myself, so that I could feel a sense of well-being, and I could survive being in the household. Now, there's other things that I developed during that time which looked like shape-shifting, people-pleasing, lying, not really showing up, not asking for what I needed because it wasn't safe in that environment to do so. And so what ended up happening is there was a whole different set of beliefs that started to come out as decisions that I made about what relationship is and who I am in relationship to relationship that then colored my later years going into my 20s and early 30s that had me show up guarding my heart, keeping people at arm's length, hurting people in the process, hurting myself in the process. So relationships felt like a trap to me, a place where I would lose myself if I was too intimate. And I'm going to cover 5 beliefs that I had, that I created, that were the building blocks of how I then related to people later on in life. And as I go through these, trust that some variation of them exist within an avoidant partner. They probably have their own language for it. And this is not an exhaustive list, but these are some core ones that are at the epicenter and were the engine for the relational actions I took and how I showed up. So the first one was, if I get close, I'll lose myself. If I get too close to someone in a relationship, I will not know who I am anymore, okay? Second, if I commit, I'll be trapped in the relationship. If I commit, there won't be a way for me to actually get out. Once I committed, I can't get out because to try to get out might be too painful. If I open myself up and really fall in love with somebody, what I might be faced with is now I'm too weak to leave, or I won't be able to break the connection. I'll feel too guilty. So there's almost like an abandonment wound at the core of that a lot of avoidants actually have, where a relationship is too dangerous. It's like if they go into the deep end of the pool, they're afraid they're going to drown. So they stay on the shoreline ankle deep while maybe you're swimming in the depths of the water, inviting them in, but they don't want to go above their waist because if they do, it feels like a life life-threatening venture for them on some level, even if it's not conscious. Another belief that I developed was my needs aren't welcome. So if I'm to bring my needs into the relationship, a need for autonomy, a need for some space, maybe a need for more affection, it won't actually be met. It won't actually be met. There's no room for my needs in a relationship, and therefore a relationship is not a place that can hold who I truly am. So who I truly am and my best self can only live outside of a relationship as an independent man, not in connection with another person. Another belief at the core was I can't trust love to last. I can't trust love to last. So even if I do build something with you, what is going to happen inevitably is the honeymoon phase will wear off, the hard work of love will begin, and we won't actually be able to maintain it. It will fall apart, and we will be suffering, in pain, having to break up, and that's just too much to bear. So why try in the first place? Let's not get too deep. Let's not put ourselves through inevitable destruction. Now, there's a number of things that are implied with that belief. One is that we as humans don't have agency over creating love, right? That love is something that's sitting over us in relationship, and it's either there or it's not. And if it goes away, we have no capacity to create it. Me moving from avoidant to secure, this was a really big one for me, is realizing that love is not something that happens in a relationship necessarily. Love is something that is actually cultivated and created where we can have our hands on the steering wheel to be able to create more love in the relationship at will when we want to. And then finally, the other belief I had was that vulnerability equals weakness. So for me to open up, for me to allow myself to be seen, for me to really bare my heart to someone would be taken advantage of. I would either be rejected, I wouldn't get my needs met, or there's a way in which I would no longer be respected. I would no longer be trusted by being vulnerable. So what I need to do is I need to keep my heart out of the interaction so that I can maintain some type of self-respect and not put myself in harm's way or critical judgment that I would not be able to handle. So you can see how all 5 of these beliefs create this constellation that has somebody look at relationship and hold it at bay, because it is a dangerous quicksand where although there's something in there you're craving, something you're wanting, it's not a territory where one who is planted squarely in an avoidance pattern has the capability of being able to navigate. And they might be very capable people outside of a relationship, but you get them in the relationship and it can bring up a lot of anxiety. And it's not uncommon for people when they get into a relationship as an avoidant to suddenly switch to feeling anxious in the relationship and afraid of losing the love once they've gone all in with that person. Because anxious and avoidant are actually 2 sides of the same coin under the umbrella of insecurely attached. And then you've got securely attached over here. So it's not uncommon for one to experience the polarities of being anxious and avoidant at different times in the relationship based on the depth of intimacy. So how do these 5 beliefs manifest as behaviors in a relationship or in dating context? They manifest in ways like nitpicking. So picking apart the person's personality or their appearances to essentially keep them at arm's length and say, they're not really my person. They've got all these things that I don't know if I could actually deal with. Another manifestation of these beliefs is you idealize the perfect partner, and then you compare any mere mortal that you're dating to that ideal, and you're just constantly in touch with the gap. And you say, you know what? I'm not going to go all in with this person because if I did, I'd be settling. And then that word settling becomes a cloak. It's a veiled way of actually de-escalating intimacy with really good potential partners that you could build a great relationship with. And you think, oh, I'm settling. I'm settling if I was to be with them because I've got this ideal that I think people need to meet. And if they don't, then I can't open my heart because I'd be opening my heart to the wrong person. Notice that this is an advanced tactic that avoidants will use against themselves. It's a game of deception that they play with themselves to have a logical reason to not go all in. It's an incredibly painful one. So this looks like creating stories about incompatibility. This looks like taking a fine-tooth comb and having all of these standards and checklists that you need the person to hit, and if they don't, you doubt about whether you should open your heart. My invitation, if you are an avoidant watching this video, is to slow down and just be really honest with yourself, right? Are you actually holding a high standard, or is there a way that you're protecting yourself from getting in so deep with somebody that to love them and to be seen by them and to create a connection so powerful that if it did end, you'd feel like you'd be destroyed, right? I can say this is a leaf out of my book. When I really got honest with myself, is all of these ideals that I was holding on to were ways of me having an excuse to not swim out to the deep end of the pool and have to learn how to swim in the waters of intimacy with people. So a couple of other ways these beliefs manifest in behaviors is ghosting. An avoidant is more likely to ghost because there's a way in which they are not valuing how they are showing up in the connection. They are not valuing what they're creating with you. So they think that it doesn't actually warrant a conversation of closure. And I understand how it can be very easy to make that behavior mean something about your value, but very often it is that the avoidant is not in touch with their own value of what they're creating, which has them end things that way. That does not excuse that behavior, but what it does do is perhaps can help you take the knife of self-accusation out of you and not put your value on the chopping block because somebody does not have the capacity to be in communication with you at the end of a connection. So if you're watching this video right now and you're in love with an avoidant and you're recognizing some of these dynamics that you are in relationship with, it is very important that you stop internalizing their lack of relational capacity, meaning something about your value. And it is not your job to fix them. It is not your job to save them. It is not your job to love them back into health. The only thing you can truly do is either walk away and stay connected to yourself so that you don't abandon who you are for a relationship that is not reciprocated, or move into secure attachment, which actually might look like walking away, but it could also look like communicating from secure attachment, bringing your needs, bringing your leadership into the dialogue, and then seeing what kind of difference you can make when you become a champion for secure, healthy love, rather than letting your anxious attachment drive the show, which might look like withholding, shape-shifting, people-pleasing, giving too much, and then resenting the person, which is a really key sign that if you're resenting the person while you're waiting for them, that you are abandoning yourself. If any of those things are happening, you're locked in your own pattern, being counter-triggered by their avoidance into your anxiety, and the move is to move into secure connection, move into deeper connection with you, so that you can take a real stand for what it is that you want in a relationship. And that might inspire them to step up and meet you at a higher relational level, or it might mean that you are able to trust life and trust yourself enough that you'll be able to create something better and you walk away out of love. Remember, you can't inspire someone to face their fear of relationship from you coming from a place of fear of being alone. When you become secure, the whole system shifts. The groundedness that you demonstrate disarms the avoidance defense system. You stop chasing and they actually finally have space to come toward you if they want to. So how do avoidants heal and how do you actually find peace? You know, for me, being a recovering avoidant, I had to go through a number of different relationships until I realized that I was the common denominator and there was something that I was doing that was stopping love from growing. And there came a point where that became so painful that I had to realize that what I really wanted is I wanted a relationship that would allow me to feel more free than I was when I was single. I wanted the challenge of relationship because I could feel that the avoidance patterning was actually making my life smaller and more shallow. And there was a way in which I had a value around growth and depth, and I knew that relationship was a path to that. So there are going to be avoidants that you are dancing with that also feel something similar, where they want a relationship, they want to do the work. And that is a key piece. They are going to heal when they want to heal. But if they are saying, hey, I don't have capacity for you, I don't want a relationship right now, I want to keep this casual, you have to listen to them and you have to be willing to let them go because they're telling you the truth. They're just not ready. And if you're currently in a relationship or a marriage with an avoidant and you're experiencing a variation of these dynamics, your work is to keep moving into secure attachment, because the more that you can operate from a place of empowerment where you are not afraid of being abandoned and you're also not afraid of asking for closeness, and you don't get triggered by them taking some space, but rather you can start to see space as an ally in the relationship. And rather than get defensive, you get curious. Rather than close down and take what they're doing personally, you're able to stay open and have fun with it. You actually start to disarm them. They actually start to feel that it is safe for them to be themselves, that they can get space and have autonomy in the relationship, that there's a way that they still can be themselves and honor themselves in your presence. And that is another way that an avoidant can start to heal in relationship with you, is when you start to occupy the place of secure attachment. And they will eventually, if the two of you continue to work this edge, both of you will start to move deeper and deeper into secure attachment, where you trust each other, you trust life, and you trust what the two of you are building. My name's Clayton Olson, and if you like this video, please like it. Please comment below if there's any questions. If you want to share your experience, if you're an avoidant and you found value in this video, or you wanted to add to a point that would be helpful to the people that are watching that might be anxious, feel free to comment below. And if you'd like to enter into a one-on-one dialogue with me about how we can take you from anxious or avoidant in your relationship into deeper levels of secure love, secure attachment, which I believe is arguably the holy grail of relationship, where we trust life, we trust ourselves, and we trust relationships so that we can take more risk and be more expansive in how we're living, then I want you to get in touch. And you can do that by clicking the link in the description below to fill out a coaching application form, and somebody from my team will be in touch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.